Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Becca. If you're new here, let me just backtrack just a wee bit. So we lived in New Zealand for 2 years and it was the most beautiful, perfect 2 years of our lives. We absolutely loved living there, but job situation changed. We found out that we need to move back to the US. So this video is going to be all about the story time of the last couple days in New Zealand and then our journey, our actual flight from New Zealand to the US, because it was hell on earth. I feel like I need to start out by saying that we deserve the stupidest human alive title, because there's just so many little things that we did along the way that just compounded and made everything so much worse. So starting out, we thought that we did enough preparation the week before we were moving. We wake up the final morning and we're like, okay, it's go time. We have until 5 o'clock today. Let's get everything packed up, everything sorted. A lot of stuff needs to be donated. We need to work out the car situation, whatever. We'll get it done. We have all day. We grossly underestimated how much time we had. A big thing to do with that is the fact that we had our beautiful son, William. He's almost 3. He is a living tornado. He is chaos incarnate. You will hear through this whole story how he is. I don't know. And then, so we had him, our 3-year-old, and then we also have our little baby here. She wasn't even a month old at the time. It wasn't until 2 o'clock that we went to a friend's house and we were like, help us. She saved our biscuits and was able to babysit him. We had a hard deadline at 5 o'clock that we were supposed to be done and out of the house. We didn't make it. We didn't even come close to making it. Because up until 2 o'clock, every time we'd work on something and get something packed and organized, he would come and rip it all out. Every time we'd go and clean something, he would make something else messy. And so it was just a lot of redoing. And then on top of that, we just had so much stuff to sort. It was insane how much how much belongings we owned. In the end, we brought 3 suitcases and way too many carry-on bags, but consolidating your whole life, 2 years of your life down into that much bag space, it's hard and it takes a lot of time. One of the problems that we ran into is when we realized we were running out of time, I just started throwing everything that we might want. It might be garbage. It might be something valuable. I would throw it over by the suitcase because I was like, we'll get to that later. Because I was trying to really deep clean the house because we had to be out of there. It had to be clean. Otherwise, we don't get our deposit back, whatever. And so I was doing that, and Billy was trying to do a lot of other stuff. And we're both throughout the day, walking around like panic attack zombies. Both of us were having separate panic attacks about separate things, and neither of us could help each other, and we're both melting down about different things, and we're like, I can't help you. Go figure out your own stuff. I'm working on this thing. Just sweating all day long because we're just running around like maniacs trying to get everything done. Stress level 10. We didn't make it to the deadline. We did not get out of there by 5. We extended to 7 o'clock. We still weren't even done by 7. By 7:30, we were finally locking up and getting out of the house. And on top of all this stress, I felt so bad. I felt so guilty about my children. Because all day long, up until 2 o'clock, so time we woke up to the time that our friend was able to babysit him, it was a constant no to my son. Don't touch that. Get out of that. Get away from this. And I was just trying to put him in front of the screen all day. I feel so guilty doing that. And that was me all day long. I was like, here's this movie. Here you go. Whatever you want, please. We just need to get stuff done. And then this perfect little beautiful baby, luckily she's a nice, easy newborn. Here's this blanket. Go sit on the floor on the corner over there. I felt so bad. Anyways, somehow, finally, we managed to get the whole house cleaned. Everything's packed and in bags, and I'm still amazed that we were able to get anything done. We also had our neighbor come over and help, and she was mopping, helping clean the gunk out of the cabinets. I'm like, what were we thinking? We just so grossly underestimated the amount of time that we needed.
Crazy.
I have a lot to say on the subject, but I'm saying nothing because my brain doesn't work anymore. Whatever, it's over. So the next part of this whole journey, we went over to the friend's house that was babysitting our son. Amazing, beautiful, perfect people. So we go over there, and the plan was to stay that night, and then the next morning we'd go to the airport. Part of that plan was we'll get to their house and we will go through all of these bags and reorganize, redistribute everything so that they're all at weight, and get rid of the stuff that we don't actually want to bring. But we ran out of time. By the time we got there, we were exhausted. We hadn't had food in a very long time. Our children needed to be put to bed. It was dark. And we knew that we had a very long 2 days ahead of us. And so we're like, we'll just redistribute everything so that it's at weight and then call it good. That made the rest of the journey so much more miserable than it needed to be, because we had so many carry-on bags. Because whatever we didn't fit into the weighted check-in bags, we were like, oh, it's okay. We'll just throw it on a bag on our back. That is the worst mistake you can make. So we wake up the next morning, we're ready to fly. So the first flight was from Auckland to Dallas, and that was a 16-hour flight. We woke up that morning and then learned that the Dallas to Utah flight, which was only like 3 hours long, was canceled because of ice storms, ice rains that were happening here in Dallas. We're like, whatever, we'll figure it out there, because we were all packed up. And the other thing too is that we needed 2 friends to come and drive us to the airport because we had so much stuff. We had so many bags, strollers, car seats, people, like it wouldn't all fit into one car. So we had our friend come and we loaded both the cars up. We drive to the airport. At this point, we get out of the car and we realize that there's way too much stuff for me and Billy to physically push through the airport alone. So our one beautiful angel friend went and parked and then walked over, because all of our bags loaded up was 2 trolleys. And then we had William in the stroller, and that was loaded up with bags. And then I had her in a carrier on the front of me, and we both had loads of bags on our backs. It just wasn't physically possible for 2 people to carry that. And we're like, oh, it's okay, we'll just go and check the bags and then we'll be fine. So our friend helped push the bags over into the checked area, and then it took forever. Like, I think it took an hour because we were trying to work out the connecting flight that was canceled, and it was very slow. And our poor boy hates being restrained. Another thing about him is that he's a runner, which is a very fun combination for us, because it's like if you keep him strapped in, he is screeching as if he's watching his whole family being murdered. But then if you let him out, he is running at the other end of the airport. He does not listen to you, to turn around and come back, to stay next to you, to hold on to anything. And then if you try to grab him to keep him from running away, it's the same screeching. Do we keep him screeching in the stroller, or do we let him run with less screeching but still screeching? So yeah, we kept him trapped in the stroller and dealt with the looks that came from everybody. Finally, we get the bag checked, right? And so then we have to go through security. And security was another nightmare because, again, this boy does not listen. I don't know. He's a beautiful soul, and I love him, but he is so stubborn, and he's a wrecking ball. To go through security, you have to let him out of the stroller, and I'm like... And we have way too many bags that we have to sort, take out all the electronics, take off our shoes, put them in the bins. You know, this little monster is running through parts of security that nobody's allowed to go through. And all of the workers, you can see in their eyes, they go to grab him and they're like, wait, I shouldn't be grabbing other people's children, that whole awkward thing. And I'm like, please grab him. Please help me. I throw her at workers several times. I think 3 different people held her through that whole process. So we're trying to wrestle William. We finally get through. He is just a storm. I'm trying not to say horrible things about him. Finally, we get through security. All of us melting down. All of us are so done at this point, and we hadn't even gotten on the plane yet. We get through, we get our shoes on, we get all of our bags back, we get him back into the stroller somehow. Lots of bribery. We're working our way through, and then we get stopped, and we have to go through another security checkpoint because Billy and the baby, the not even 1-month-old baby, got security flagged. You know, those random checks that you have to do? Great. So then we have to go into another separate room, and they have to check all of our bags again, and they have to bomb test the 1-month-old. Good job, guys. Really keeping us safe. So finally we keep going. Oh, of course our gate is the very last one. So we had to walk forever. And it's the last physical gate that you can walk to in this airport. And there are just so many times throughout this whole process where both of us are just I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. There's no other option. You just have to keep going. You have to keep doing. This is where it all melts down. So we're at the part where you have to scan your boarding pass and then go down the walkway to the plane. Should be fairly easy. Except this little beautiful angel, she's been perfect this entire time. And it's at this point that she decides to start screaming. And in the carrier, she's usually asleep and very happy. But when she wakes up, it sounds like somebody's ripping off her fingernails. The worst screaming, and it's horrible sounding, and it's very loud. And then also, we don't have the stroller at this point anymore. But everybody's waiting in line. And I'm like, there's no way that William is going to be able to weave through all these people and take off. Why did I underestimate him? I don't know. So that's exactly what happens. He lets go of us. We let go of him. We have way too many bags. I take her out of the carrier at this point because I'm trying to hold her and get her a little bit happier. William takes off, runs past the boarding screening thing, and runs all the way down this entire long walkway to the airplane. And Billy is trying to run past the people to go get him, and everybody's like, you can't go through without scanning your boarding pass. And he's like, I need to go get him. So he throws all the bags on me. I have her in my arms. I have way too much stuff on me. I am stressed out to the max. Finally, Billy gets William back. It's our turn to scan our boarding passes to go through. I have everything, including her, and I kept trying to tell Billy, I don't think I was doing it very well. I was trying to tell him that I was about to drop everything. And that's what happened. I dropped everything. Not the baby. I kept holding on to her. I dropped all of the bags, and it's in this like tiny little walkway that everybody has to go through past the boarding check. William takes off running down the walkway again. Billy turns around, and poor thing, I mean, he's stressed out to the max too, trying to deal with him, trying to like get our boarding passes scanned, trying to do everything at once. Like, he still has a lot of bags too. He was just like, why would you do that? And I started sobbing. I just left everything there, and I went into the corner where there were some seats, and I stared at the corner, and I just sobbed, and I wept as I tried to feed my daughter and get her calmed down. And as I have been saying for the last several hours, I can't do this anymore. Billy manages to get William back. We grab all of our bags. One lady comes over as I'm sobbing, and she leans down and she gives me a pat, and she's like, you're never going to see anybody on this plane again, and it doesn't matter what the fuck any of them think. And I was just like, thank you. And I started sobbing all over again, and I like gave her a thumbs up because I couldn't talk because I was crying so hard. But it was a lot. And it was very terrible. Anyway, so we got together again. We got composed as you can be at this point. Finally, we make it down the walkway. We make it onto the plane. Billy slings all the bags up into the overhead compartment. And again, I just have too much. I have her in my arms. I have the amount of bags that I can possibly carry. And it's at that point that I'm looking around and I'm like, where's William? So we do the whole fun thing of asking all the flight attendants, like, oh, have you seen a toddler? And they're like, oh, no. So then we're running around the gigantic airplane trying to find this toddler wherever he could be. We find him, and then we get into the seat, and then it's the whole fun thing of we have to restrain him again. So we're doing all the things, all the desperate things that parents can do to try to keep their children calm. We're giving him Oreos, we're giving him marshmallows, we're giving him phones, iPads. We have a backpack full of all of his favorite toys and books. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So we got the banshee screaming, we got the kicking, we have the scratching, we have everything under the sun. Finally, once we get enough into the sky, we can take his seatbelt off. He's a lot more calm at this point. Oh, and another fun thing. This was before the flight had even taken off. The guy next to us in the aisle, I see him, like out of the corner of my eye, he's taking pictures of us. And I was like, what's going on over here? So I had Billy, because he was sitting on the very end. I was like, can you read what he's writing about our picture and like what he's sending it to and what he's talking about? Luckily, he's a freaking old boomer that had like large font text, and so Billy across the aisle could read everything he's writing. And yeah, it's just a bunch of really rude comments about, thanks American Airlines for the extra legroom, and now I get to sit next to a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old. I'm like, she's 3 weeks old, try again. So yeah, just sitting next to that, just really makes you really happy. Thankfully, I don't know what we would have done without this, but we had the bassinet seat, which is a lifesaver. She was in that thing for like 90% of the time, and she slept for most of the flight. It was awesome. William finally fell asleep. He got about 4 hours of sleep out of the whole 16-hour flight, if that helps paint the picture of how torturous this flight was. Me and Billy got about 2 hours of sleep that night. And then on top of it all, we had one of the rudest flight attendants that I've ever seen in my life. Every time she walked by, she had some snarky comment to make about just how wild he was. And like one time I was walking up and down the aisles with William to try to get some of his wiggles out. He wasn't doing anything. Like he was just walking, and she made some very rude comment about how I need to restrain him and it would really help them out if I could do that. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I did not speak. I did not acknowledge her for the rest of the flight. Whatever. It wasn't until about like 2 or 3 hours into the flight that I finally decompress enough and get everything managed and under control that I'm like, I haven't seen my phone in a while. And so I'm looking through the entire diaper bag, every bag that I could have possibly put it into. And I was like, Billy, you don't have my phone, do you? He's like, no. Because here's the thing. I was wearing really flowy pants that are super comfortable, and I loved them for the flight. But I forgot one key aspect about them. They're too big around the waist. And so if I have my phone in my pocket, my pants fall down. That whole story of me going through the airport, dealing with everything, on top of constantly trying to keep my pants pulled up because they kept falling down. And so at one point, I put my phone into the side pocket of the diaper bag, like where the water bottles go, which should have been fine. At some point, it was gone. We lost it. And so at this point, I start mourning. I start crying all over again because I'm like, all of the pictures and videos that I have of my sweet baby, my 1-month-old, gone. Because we hadn't backed him up in a while. So like most of them absolutely gone. All of my notes, which I love my notes. I have my life organized on there. I have like so many sentimental like journal kind of things on there. All gone. All my contacts. And then the other thing too is like we brought so much garbage because we were trying to save money. Because it's like, oh, if we bring this, it'll save us $30. Oh, if we bring this, it'll save us $20. And it's like, great. We brought this bowl to try to save us $20 and now have to turn around and buy an over $1,000 phone. So I'm glad that we saved all of those nickels and dimes. I mean, I tried to make myself feel better because I was like, well, at least my children are alive. At least we all still have each other. And it was kind of nice actually in a way because me and Billy had this really strange, like deep bonding moment because we went through this awful life experience together and it was kind of sweet. So anyways, yeah, we finished the flight. We land. Billy's taking all of our bags down, and I'm so glad that he was the one that took the bags down because he was tall enough to look into the overhead bins. I was not. But as he was taking down all the bags, he saw my phone up there. So just like we had all the lowest of low experiences, that was such a high, beautiful experience because I thought it was gone. And then there it was. So what had happened is I put it in the water bottle pocket, and when he slung all the bags up there, it flew out. And whatever, I'm just so happy. I'm so glad and thankful and grateful. Yeah, we had to wake William up and go through the Dallas airport, which people have told us is the most confusingly laid out airport that they've ever been to. And I have to agree. Because it's one of those things where it's like, we go to one section and they're like, oh no, you shouldn't be here, go to this other section. So then we have to go down to make this whole trek back. And they're like, why'd you come down here? You need to be up in this other section. And so then we have to walk. We went back and forth 100 times trying to work out where we needed to be. Because again, our flight was canceled and we had to work out standby, whatever. Poor William at this time was exhausted. He had had 4 hours of sleep, which for a 3-year-old is not great. His eyes were rimmed with red. He had bags under his eyes. We were all so done. And yeah, so we had to recheck our bags. Really fun. I had to ask somebody for help because that's never embarrassing. And then we had to re-go through security because of how awfully this airport is laid out. You know, it's a super duper long line. And then of course this is again, you know, she had been great that whole flight. And then all of us walking back and forth through the airport, she had been asleep and just beautiful. And it wasn't until we're in the security line, stuck. And that's when both of the children started wailing. Only if you have at least 2 children and you've had 2 children screaming at the same time, can you experience what it is like. When both of them are screaming and you can't do a single thing about it. You just have to stand there and accept that this is your life. You know, finally we get through security. We have to do that very terrible experience again of letting William out of the stroller. He's running past everybody. All the security people are yelling at him because he's going places he shouldn't be. We're trying to get everything through. We've finally managed to do it. That is when we learn that the standby line, we are numbers 39 and 40 and 41. It's like, there's no way that we are getting on this flight. Because they came over the intercom and they're like, this flight is very full. And we know that there's a lot of people on standby and don't come up and ask about it. Here's your names on the list and that's all we can do about it. Like, it's in order. What are we going to do? All of the hotels are booked up and we talked to another man that was like, I've been trying to fly out of Dallas for the last 3 days because of these ice storms. And we're like, what do we do? Because we were so done. And there was like, how were we going to take care of our children? I don't know. I was texting my mom, like living past Houston. It was a 5-hour drive and I was like, it might be coming to pick us up, Mom. Eventually, somehow, you know, we watch all these people going through the line and going onto the airplane and we're like, no, why can't that be us? And then Billy, I see him getting this crazy look in his eyes. Do I need to come over there? So I grab all of our bags and rush over.
Loveless, come around.
Somehow, by some miracle, by some magical, mystical presence out there, we end up being the last group that was able to board. We're the last ones. That last group had to split. They could only have 1 out of their 3. Oh, I am over encumbered. Oh my gosh, we have William, yeah? We're going to get on the airplane. We get on that flight and both of them slept for the entire time because they were both exhausted. Well, she was fine. She sleeps, whatever. But he slept the whole time. we land, and then our aunt comes and picks us up, and it was just the most beautiful end to the journey. This overwhelming, awful, terrible journey. It was at an end. And so our aunt drives us to our sister-in-law, like Billy's sister's house, and it was just the craziest thing, because like we got there and I opened the door and my sister-in-law, was standing at the top of the stairs. I don't know, my brain broke. Like, I think I forgot what seeing family was like, because it's been so long. I don't know, I was like manic. I was like, oh, family, because the end of the journey, overtired, overstressed out, and then seeing family, it's just like the flip-flop of emotions, and just the situation was just so insane. So yeah, that was our trip. Now we're in Utah. We're not like settling permanently down here. Billy's going to be taking auditions for the next couple months. If we win one of those, we'll go to that destination. If he doesn't, then we'll figure out plan B. But that is our life, our very messy, complicated life. But we're here. We are done with that terrible journey. I will never do that again. And yeah, that's the end of my little story time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.